Do you believe?
The mentions of Brock Bowers and Stetquavius and this tight fade. Let's get into that. We're going to recap recap yesterday's game. Dawgs rolled into Columbia, South Carolina. They roll out of there with a 48-7 victory. The defensive starters still have not given up a touchdown. Brock Bowers had a hat trick. Stetquavius had 2 scores himself, and then they were filled in with miscellaneous people. I think Kendall Milton had one, Oscar Delp had one, and I think McIntosh had one, if I'm not mistaken. So, and if I left you out, I apologize. But I think Ladin McConkey had one too. So watching that game, I mean, was I a little worried that Spencer Rattler might find it after that first pass? He threw that dime. And I was like, okay, well, he might be a little juiced up on this first drive, but that won't last. And then the very next play throws a really bad interception. Spencer Rattler was everything we advertised. And I know you're not one to criticize. I try not to be, but it was brutal for South Carolina for Spencer Rattler.
I tweeted yesterday, I've never one of the best players. I've been on the other side of that. It's not fun, and that's how we do. We as athletes, no matter who you play for, we all look out for each other, one way or another. But like I tweeted yesterday, he just doesn't understand the concept. You know what I mean?
Right.
Today kind of similar run, with a hitch and a speed out. There were guys open yesterday. I mean, let's our zone coverage. In man coverage, we play man in our zone coverage. There are a few holes, but nothing to agree. You know what I mean? But there was a couple times yesterday they could have hit, like a slant, or they ran an underneath sweep out to his right hand side that he missed. He missed a hitch on third down that he could have hit. The one screen through. If he leaves the guy, I think Keely ran right on fourth down. If he leaves the guy, I mean, he probably would sleep because there was nobody on that side of the field. So Rattler's got some social to do. I mean, they didn't put him in really good situations, either. But at the same time, I think it's the concept, I think he'll be fine. I think he understands where everything's going when it all happens, when it all unfolds, is what it looks to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think just everything moves too fast for him, and I think, once you kind of upgraded, even coming from the Big 12 to the SEC, I think once you kind of started throwing some of those defenses at him, I mean, this speed of this Georgia defense is probably something he has never seen, even when he was going against his own scout team in Oklahoma, even when they played against Texas and some of the, the Baylors and the Iowa States of the world, the teams that play really good defense in that league. I don't think he saw anything close to what he saw yesterday. And a lot of his mistakes also were, I think he was feeling the pressure and he was panicking a little bit. I think he got spooked on a couple of throws. That one interception, I think he had more time than he thought. And that's just kind of what these Georgia pressures do to you. I mean, you see Nolan Smith bearing down on you, see Jalen Carter pushing the pocket. You feel like you can't go anywhere and you have to get rid of the ball and you're not really comfortable. And that's one thing this defense does a really good job of is they force errors. And Spencer Rattler's not a bad quarterback. He's just somebody that I think his ego gets in the way a little bit. And I don't think he prepares. I don't think he prepares as much as he should because of his ego.
And I mean, that goes hand in hand with like I said, not understanding the concepts. In the Big 12, I mean, you have some athletic players, but most of the four down, you might get an odd tag look every once in a while, but those linebackers aren't as athletic as they are in the SEC. Secondary is not as athletic as they are in the SEC. Like you said, I mean, his head's spinning. I mean, you got guys running at you left and right, coverages. And it, like you say, it goes back to preparation. If you go back and look at film, if you're really studying Georgia, I think you got to get a beat on it just a little bit. Of course, they always have a trick up their sleeve, but the base what they do to where this play is called, I know You know, the
Right.
wheel route he threw to start. I mean, that was dumb. There's absolutely no reason why he should that pick. He went to right, and he looked left, and he threw the wheel route, which was late, and we had great coverage, and we
Yeah.
picked the ball off. The dime he threw to Jaheim, shout out to Jaheim Bell. It was absolutely great. We had coverage on that too. He just threw a perfect ball. Kill that guy.
Uh-huh.
But still, he missed the reach. You know what I mean? So he's a study. I think he's got to prepare better. Do I think he's the guy for South Carolina? Absolutely. They are a different team on the field, but if he's not going to put the time in to work and to understand and to study, then I think move on. Like you say, I remember watching him with Bleav. I was like, this kid, he has talent in the world, but to get him, and it has definitely caught up. Because let me tell you this,
Yeah.
South Carolina fans are very nice, and they aren't
No.
happy.
No, they're not happy at all. They're not happy with Beamer. They're not happy with Satterfield, who apparently is the in their crosshairs right now, not putting them in good situations, especially like trying to run right into the teeth of the defense on 3rd and short, things like that. Like things that they could do as a coaching staff to help Spencer Rattler out, they're not doing.
Yeah, you're going to run right at our defensive linemen who absolutely mammoth. They're just moving people. Like it's like, excuse me, I'm trying to make this tackle, and you're impeding my press. That's literally what it looked like the other day. There was no option. There was no RPOs type deal. There was nothing. We were just trying to hit them and
It's almost like they were coaching scared a little bit too, as well, and they look shook. And so it trickles down when you look shook as a coaching staff, it's gonna come across as shook, and it's gonna be that's what it came out as. But defensively as well, I don't think they had a good game plan. I think they played too soft in coverage. I don't think they committed enough to the box. I don't think they were able to get a beat on Todd Monken, and Monken definitely has tendencies. And I think if you really study on film, like you should as an SEC defensive staff, you could probably find those tendencies and at least call a good run blitz here and there, or call a good, at least call good situational football and say, okay, you want your superior athletes to go make a play. Well, here you go. We're going to make it tough on you. But it didn't seem that way. In Oregon, same way. Like Dan Lanning didn't have good preparation. Shane Beamer and his defensive staff did not have good preparation for what Georgia brought to them offensively, and it showed. I mean, you had the one reverse to Brock Bowers that was kind of a tricky deal, but I mean, Brock Bowers scored a 78-yard seam route. He just got popped on the seam at like 6 yards, and then took it to the house. The rest of the way for 78 and a score, and then they run a, and then Stetquavius throws an absolute dime to Brock Bowers on another one where, I mean, it was perfectly defended. The guy couldn't do anything about it. Double toe tapped. And then, I thought the run game was strong again. The offensive line said, you know what? We're just going to throw this thing on our back, man, and we're going to go, man. Like it feels like this offensive line, more so than last year's, just enjoys road grading people. And they don't care if they get any attention or not.
Really enjoy beating the hell out of people. They enjoy. There's nothing like watching a lineman just bury his body and then just rub this thing all over his face when he's getting up. There's something beautiful about that when it's your team that's getting that done. And our offensive line, they absolutely love doing that. Going back to Todd Monken and his tendencies. I mean, when they go formation, that what I call ace nasty, with the tight look 2x2, it's either going to be a couple of things. It's either going to be a jet sweep. It's either going to be reverse. They'll orbit and run zone behind it. They will run outside zone to it. So that's 4 plays, 4 or 5 I just named off by that one portion. So you got to have something that's top that. I think Dan Lanning was surprised at some of the stuff that he did out of those looks. They really never adjusted. Dan Lanning is a great defensive mind. So I think they were prepared. They just did to what they were doing.
I felt like he was shell shocked
at all. what we were doing.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like they did. I mean, maybe it was the same thing as Oregon. They get out there and they're shell shocked because the offensive line is just ruining all of their preparation. And it's pretty safe to say that Amarius Mims and Broderick Jones are, I mean, that's our tackles, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Mims is
I mean,
road renting
those
people.
two. I saw 65 in the game a lot.
Yeah, I don't think Stetson touched, as a
I think he
pressure.
did. I think he did a couple. I think he did a couple times. I think he did on the first series. I think his first throw. I think he was flushed.
Yeah, he did.
And then he
But
just
it's one of
completed a
those where
dime
he
on the
should have
next one.
got
But
the ball off that. He should
yeah,
have got off way sooner, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, that was probably more on Stetson.
Our
But
offensive
it's the
line
SEC. You're going to get some pressure sometimes, right? Or at least you expect to, because
absolutely.
they have scholarship players too.
Oh yeah, yesterday was just great. I think the telltale of the night. I think when we scored, we went up 14, and I saw Beamer on his headset. I think he was telling his defensive guys, stop. He was like, "Guys, don't do that. Stop." I'm pretty sure they were it, because that was not a very good defensive series. The one thing that I noticed the other day is that Dejon Edwards running back at seeing stuff. He has to move a lot of that group right now, because a couple of players running zone and stuff like that. I think if there's just one cut that, Milton or especially Milton, if he makes one house, I think we're running with our hand a little bit. And it's just one of those things to where you just get a push. I mean, it can be short down yardage, things like that. But I think if you make one move, that thing's to the house. You know what I mean? I think Edwards right now, or hey, Brian's saying it really well too. I mean, we got a stable of backs that can do a lot of great things. Love the way they're.
That's 4 guys right there that can do something.
He's on it, especially I love a bat that can catch. Anytime you get a running ball, I mean, now you're playing.
It's just
6 guys because
it's a
Stetson
weapon,
can run
dude.
the ball.
Yeah. I mean, it's a freaking weapon, and Stetson can sling it, man. He's this team was expected to go out and win by 24.5 as the number 1 team in the country, and they doubled up on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Oh
God, it's just and people are just like, I think people are finally in awe. They're just like, okay, all right, we need to stop. Georgia's the best team, hands down. Let's just stop this argument. Georgia, it's Georgia's season right now, and a lot of people are starting to realize that. Even with Alabama sitting there 3-0, but Alabama has just they have some problems of their own with their coordinators. They're struggling a little bit. So I just think when you look at this Georgia team, they are hitting on all cylinders at this moment. Now, as we get into the meat of the schedule, will it be the same? There'll be some bumps along the way. There'll be some tight games that shouldn't be tight games with some teams like Tennessee, Kentucky, even Florida. That one's always an exciting one. I think getting Tennessee as late as we're getting Tennessee and getting Kentucky as late as we're getting Kentucky, those 2 games are a little nerve-wracking. We learned some things about Auburn this weekend. They're hot garbage. Mississippi State, they crumbled, but they're still a pretty good team, and they will get better as the season wears on. So the schedule is not easy. I mean, when you play in the SEC, it never is. But this is probably the most complete, and this is after last year's generational defense that sent almost 15 people. I think some of those guys were offense, but I think they sent 11 people to the NFL. Between reserves. I mean, it's absurd what they sent.
I saw. I want to say it was Seth. I think he made a reference to Alabama. He said that although you hate to do it, and Alabama is the mecca football teams in college football. If you look, we're building a dynasty. It's not one of those things where all last year was a fluke. I mean, we beat Oregon, very, very good ranked team. We just beat South Carolina, who's right. We've never beat South Carolina like that before. in the history of Carolina versus Georgia, that game's always close, especially over there. And we Bryce, and we just completely made them quit.
We made them quit. We made their student section empty before halftime.
Like the whole that stadium was done.
It was yeah. I mean, I was astounded. I'm like, good Lord. Like, and then, you got Kirby over there going, first down, mother, yelling at Beaver. That was, I mean, another gif from Kirby.
I mean, it's sportsmanship, it's competition. He's a very competitive guy.
Yeah.
And goes out there and reaches the ball over the goal line. You think any could, hey, great effort. He's talking about putting us on the football. He snatched that water bottle out of the water boy's hand to demonstrate what he wanted. You know what I mean? So, he's coaching himself. And you see a lot of people, they're like, why don't he just relax? You can't relax. If you relax, then your team relaxes. I tweeted that as well. When complacency, leads to mediocrity, and I know Kirby Smart does not want that. So, he got his foot on their neck, and they're responding. That's the thing. Nobody's bitching or complaining, but they're responding.
Because at the end of the day, they know why it's happening.
Yeah, they know their why.
And the proof is in the proof is in the pudding, and he has far demonstrated the why, and they believe it, and they believe in him.
Yeah, he's working his tail off. He's coaching his tail off. His staff has done a phenomenal job. There's one thing too, we're Georgia. We got all these guys, but it's another thing to put all the pieces together, and make it work. And his coaching staff, defense, special teams, offense, those guys are working their tails off on a full job, and the product's on the field. You know what I mean? So we haven't lit, and I doubt that will ever happen as of right now.
As of right now, yeah. I mean,
next week. So
yeah, and we'll jump into that here in a little bit. Exactly. We'll see kind of what we get with that, but we're going to wrap the South Carolina conversation. We're going to put that one to bed. An impressive 48-7 win in Columbia, South Carolina, place that is usually a house of horrors for the Dawgs. It was that way for the South Carolina Gamecocks as that place emptied out, and it became nothing but Georgia fans in the second half. So